So this is going to be the last letter. Granted, it's a little bit thicker than 3 pages, but I figure I would just kind of summarize and talk a little bit about it. It has to kind of do with love and loss and all that fun jazz. But anyway, we'll pick up where I left off. We'll start on page 3, where I talk about I am lazy, I'm a failure, a slacker, and someone who doesn't deserve to live. They don't need another bum on the street, so it's just better if I were buried in the ground away from all the pain, hurt, and criticisms of life. I know this sounds like I'm just feeling sorry for myself, but maybe I am. Every time I try to do homework, it brings me just that much more closer to wanting to kill myself because it reminds me of how dumb I am and what a failure should feel like. When I was going through this hard time, um, I would sit at my desk. One was just trying to do a lab report. Those are usually fairly easy. Just describe what you've done and what results you found. And I would sit there forever contemplating on where do I start? What do I say? For some reason, the chemical imbalance was not allowing me to think um, like a rational person or even to try to communicate the way that I should. Um, so this feeling of being dumb during being depressed is actually real. It completely affects your ability to make logical or even simple decisions. So just to clarify on that, um, so I go on to say, then there's this guy, and I can't say enough about him, nor have I felt someone cared so much. He is such a good-hearted person, but has a hard time understanding where I'm coming from. He was actually has kept me from cutting more on my arms because I don't want him to think that I'm a psycho. Um, with that, I was a cutter, and it wasn't for a sense of control like some people have. My form of cutting was very much I just felt like I needed to be punished because I felt dumb. I felt like I wasn't helping in society, and with um, the society that I was around when I grew up, I'm not blaming anyone, but negative reinforcement was how they corrected behavior. So that's what I knew and used, trying to help correct my behavior. I kind of marked on my arms, um, as you can see here, where all my scars are. Um, and as you can see again, there's no form of control. It was just random slashes. Looking back, I also did it as a form of asking for help because I didn't know how, and I felt asking was weak. Also, I felt that no one would care, and so why bother to reach out? But luckily, sometimes it would bleed. I know that sounds horrible, but it would bleed through my shirts, and my sisters would see it. And they're the ones that helped me to get help. So a lot of the time when we think if depressed people can just get up and help themselves, um, they really can't. But if they're giving you any sign that something's different or that their lack of life has kind of faded a little bit, even if it's minute, please ask them um, because they're not going to have that conversation with you unless you take the first move, just because they don't feel that they're worthy. And so they need you to step up to show that you care about them. So I'll move on to the next page. I'm going to kind of finish this up today. But it says, I feel like I'm not good enough for him. He tends to remind me of the fact that I lost my ability to study and how I'm not as smart as he is. He is also leaving in a few months to live in Oregon. I'm not asking him to stay, but it's just my luck that I find one of the good ones and he has to move away. Typically, typical life and how it likes to kick you when you're down. I also hate my depression because it's like he only knows me as a failure and not the person who did succeed at life and had a goal and a plan until I became gay. Of course, I was blaming being gay for the reason of my depression, but ultimately I was denying who I was for so many years, that in order for change to occur, something dramatic had to happen. And this was that dramatic step that occurred in order for me to come to the acceptance to love myself. Funny part is that I talk about Devlin, and any of you who know me, he's my husband now. But it says now my other best friend Devlin won't talk to me because we got into a fight. It's like I won't have any close friends anymore, and I'm back to where I started. Well, that obviously worked out, but again, when you're going through those times, you don't know what's going to happen. So, I guess, long story short, I finally reached the point of trying. I feel too exhausted to do it anymore, and not only in liking someone or school, but life in general. So that was the end of my suicide letter. I wanted to make sure that people knew that I cared about them, um, and then also tried to explain how much I didn't understand myself because I was one that succeeded and did well. It just got to the point where um, things just broke down. And like I said, a lot of it's a chemical imbalance, and we need help through those things. Um, so, if any of you people who are depressed, have anxiety, are watching this, I want you to know that you can ask someone for help. Someone in your family loves you very, very much, and they will do anything to help you get past this. So, please try to reach out for them. If you don't have family, there is a suicide hotline. It's 1-800 273 8255. That's the National Suicide Hotline. Again, that's 1-800 273 8255. And if you're like me, the last thing you want to do is talk on the phone. So they also have a chat. So feel free to chat them up. The other thing is that if you want to talk to me, I'm on Facebook, Ryan Rutar, pretty easy to find. I will be willing to at least chat with you, um, share my experiences if that helps you, and hopefully maybe help you find a counselor or talk to the National Suicide Hotline, because I'm not a counselor, but I just think everybody deserves a second chance. You are worthy, and ironically, it's Easter, so that's a perfect opportunity for second beginnings. And just know you deserve it.